What's up guys, and welcome to FPL Today. I'm the man in the know, JNO, and welcome to Blanks and Doubles confirmed double game weeks, where we look at the confirmed double game weeks for game week 32, 35, but also 34, which have just been announced by the Premier League. But before we get into this video, I need your help. And no, it's not a plug for you to vote for me in the FBAs in the best fantasy football creator category, although you can do that in the description down below. But it is for you to leave in the comments down below what chips you have and what strategy you are going for into these double game weeks, and maybe if you have any questions, ask them there as well, and I will look at them and try and help you guys out. But we'll start off by looking at double game week 32, which is the next up and coming game week after the international break, and it has now officially been confirmed, and there are 10 teams having a double game week in game week 32, and that is Manchester City, Chelsea, Man United, Wolverhampton, Watford, Tottenham, Crystal Palace, Brighton, Fulham and Cardiff. And as you can see on the screen, I have both of their fixtures up for you to see in double game week 32, and I hope you appreciate the fact that I found a font that probably is a bit easier for you guys to read when you're watching these videos. So I think the real ones to stand out there are the ones I put highest up on that list. And of course the one that everyone is thinking about, everyone's dreaming about the points, it has to be Manchester City versus Fulham and Cardiff. Fulham, one of the worst teams in the league, and Cardiff, not that much better, against the likes of Sterling and Aguero, who have been on absolute fire recently. There's going to be points there. So some of us are free hitting, of course, and we'll be bringing in as many of those Man City assets as we can. But if you don't have your free hit, potential wild card, because you now know the fixtures you can prepare for, and if you've used both of them, this is potentially triple captain worthy. So I think this is the one we were all waiting to be confirmed, and now it has been confirmed. I know I'm likely to have Sterling and Aguero and then plus one other. That other one is up to debate. Hopefully there will be a video on this channel with me discussing Manchester City options in the near future, but Sterling and Aguero I think are a given. Then we have Chelsea, who have Cardiff and Brighton, and on paper that looks really promising. And to be honest, Chelsea should get past both of these teams with relative ease. However, looking at that Chelsea side, there's no one in that side that seems really in form. Now of course you have the likes of Hazard, who can have a great day on any given day. Higuain has the pedigree from other leagues, hasn't necessarily been proving it in the Premier League just yet, and Chelsea seem to have had bad luck with strikers since Diego Costa's gone. Then of course you have the fringe players, Pedro and Willian, who could also get points. Alonso would have been a nice choice if this was the Alonso from last year. And then of course you could go with the defence, hoping for clean sheet points as well. David Luiz seeming a bit more of a budget friendly option to get into that defence, although to be fair, Alonso's dropped a lot in price now. I just get a bad feeling when I try and figure out which Chelsea player to put in. I will have some sort of Chelsea coverage, that's a given. It may be defensively, but attacking wise, when I'm going to want to have Sterling and maybe another Manchester City midfielder and maybe a Man United midfielder, can I really fit in Hazard? And do I want any other Chelsea midfielder? And then up front, I have my options up front as well. So I know a lot of people will be bringing in Chelsea players, and I could be really wrong here, but my gut is saying Chelsea aren't the team to really be looking at. They do well in Europe, but they don't do that well in the Premier League. But if they're going to do well in any games, it would be against Cardiff and Brighton. Then we have Manchester United, and Manchester United have Watford and Wolves. Now, Watford and Wolves are two sides that have been doing rather well this season, so I wouldn't say they're easy fixtures, but you would expect Man United to do well against Watford and Wolves. The options really here are Lukaku at the moment seems to be in good form. Rashford had a very good vein of form earlier in the season, as did Paul Pogba, although he's gone off the boil a bit. And there are some fringe players there that could potentially do something for you. Diego Dallo looks very nice as an attacking option. He sometimes plays as a winger, even though he's classed as a defender. And then of course, if you really want to go for the clean sheet points, hoping that Man United keep out Watford and Wolves, you could look at David De Gea. David De Gea has dropped in price a little bit, and with it being a free hit, you might be able to fit him into your side and try and collect those clean sheet points. And then after that, every team pretty much has at least one difficult fixture. Tottenham could of course get something against Liverpool, and then they have Crystal Palace at home. Wolverhampton can do stuff against the big six and have Burnley before their game against Man United. And Watford have Man United, but then they do have Fulham, and Fulham of course is a very favourable game for anyone to be playing in. And then Crystal Palace have Huddersfield at home before Spurs. Brighton have Southampton at home before Chelsea, and then Fulham and Cardiff, let's be honest, they'll be our budget options if we're looking at a free hit, and you probably won't be worried about Fulham and Cardiff otherwise if you're not using a free hit or a wild card. So moving on now to double game week 34, and this will be a little bit quicker because there is only two teams having a double game week, and it is Brighton and Cardiff. They will play the fixture that needed to be rescheduled between the both of them in double game week 34, and Brighton's fixtures in Double Game Week 34 look very, very tasty. Bournemouth and Cardiff at home. Now, Brighton are decent at home. They're pretty bad on their travels, but they're decent at home. Bournemouth as opponents, perhaps not the best for defensive returns for Brighton, but also for Brighton's attack, Bournemouth are sometimes one of those sides that leave space for Brighton to do some damage. The only issue is, which Brighton player are you really going to pick? Murray looks like the best option or the most consistent. However, is he going to play in 2 game weeks? Brighton could be, of course, fighting for survival though, so it could be very important that they could put Murray on for both. And then against Cardiff, you'd expect Brighton to hopefully win that game if they want to stay in the league. Cardiff have Burnley and Brighton. They're both away fixtures, but they aren't the toughest of fixtures, so potentially a Cardiff player could get something in this. But again, to be honest, I'll be looking at the budget options to balance out your side if I was going for any Cardiff options in the Double Game Week 34. And then we have Double Game Week 35, and again, I'll try to put them in order of the teams that I think have the most favourable Double Game Week. And Arsenal have Crystal Palace at home and then Wolves away. Now, Wolves, of course, I've said it already once in this video, can do a job against the top 6. But then Crystal Palace at home as well. Arsenal hopefully chasing still for that 4th place. Arsenal could get some decent points in this Double Game Week. We then have Watford with Huddersfield and Southampton. This looks like a very tasty Double Game Week for Watford options. Troy Deeney, Deulofeu spring to mind. Potentially a Watford defender or goalkeeper as well. So that looks promising for Watford. And Southampton with Newcastle and Watford, both away games, but Southampton have looked more impressive. And to be honest, there are some in-form options in their Southampton side. Valerie and Ward-Prowse spring to mind, maybe even Armstrong. So you've got some options there in that Southampton side. With 2 fixtures, they could get points in. And then Wolverhampton with Brighton and Arsenal. It's both at home. That is the plus side of this Double Game Week for Wolves. Brighton, you'd expect them to do something against at home. Arsenal, again, top 6 side. They can get points against the top 6. So Wolverhampton looks decent for this Double Game Week. Then it gets a bit tougher, but you do have 3 of the top 6 teams in Tottenham, Manchester United and Manchester City. Tottenham against Man City away, and then Brighton at home. Brighton bad on their travels, so there's one good fixture in that Double Game Week for them. Manchester United with Everton and Man City, but the Man City game is at home. And then Manchester City versus Tottenham and Man United. Those are 2 tough fixtures, but it is potentially the best side in the league at the moment, Manchester City. So of course there's always the potential for points there. And then Brighton versus Wolves and Spurs. Now let's be honest, both away games, it's Brighton, they're bad on their travels. By this point, it may not necessarily be possible for Brighton players to get you points, but you never know what's going to happen near the end of the season when teams are fighting for their lives. Anyway guys, there you have it, the Double Game Weeks confirmed for the Fantasy Premier League and the Premier League, leading to the end of your Fantasy Premier League season. I understand some of you would have already known all of this, but you've got to understand that not everyone on this channel will be on Twitter, will be following lots of other content creators. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knows exactly what the Double Game Weeks are. Now that you know, again, go into the comments down below, leave your questions, leave your strategies, and potentially we will do a strategy video going into these Double Game Weeks depending on what chips you have left. So let me know what chips you have left, and then I can know what kind of areas to focus on. Also, if you want to support the channel in any way, hit that like button is a great way, as well as that subscribe and hitting that notification bell, as well as voting for me in the Football Blogging Awards in the Best Fantasy Football Creator category. I had to get it in, didn't I? Link is in the description down below. All that being said, stay tuned to the channel because there's going to be plenty of content during this international break going into these Double Game Weeks. I've been JNO, this has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game.